pro-lifers gained key seats in the Senate while losing control of the House of Representatives in the 2018 midterm elections. Republican Marsha Blackburn, who chaired the House panel investigating Planned Parenthood's trafficking of baby body parts, won a decisive victory in Tennessee as the state's first female senator. Also notable for the pro-life movement, Democrat Senators Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, Joe Donnelly of Indiana, and Claire McCaskill of Missouri all lost their re-election bids. The three senators all identify as Catholic, but voted in favor of abortion on key votes. Meanwhile, in the House, Democrats won 219 seats, taking back control for the first time in 6 years. To break down what the midterm results mean for the pro-life movement, we're joined by Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the Susan B. Anthony List. She also spearheaded the pro-life coalition for then-candidate Donald Trump in 2016. And John Brabender is here. He's the chief strategist and creative officer at Brabender Cox. He's a political consultant who's consulted both Senator Rick Santorum and Vice President Mike Pence, among others. Thank you both for being here. Let's get straight to it. Was this midterm election a win or loss for the pro-life movement?
Well, I think it was a tremendous win. I'm going to jump in front of John.
Go right in.
I think it was a tremendous win. I wouldn't necessarily cut it up as for pro-life as I would Republican. For pro-life, we went from a 49-seat minority in the Senate to a 51-seat majority. So we're in very good shape. We've got a good margin. I think, and our strategy in the pro-life movement has been very important, and that is to make sure that we have the senators that will confirm circuit court and Supreme Court nominees. We're in a very, very good position. We had ballot initiatives all over the country, great new governors. A good day, not so much in the House, but a good day.
But I agree with you. If there's protections we need in the pro-life movement, it's really going to happen more in the Senate than it's going to happen in the House, particularly because of judicial nominees and so forth. I mean, quite frankly, everybody wants to look at grading the president and things like that. Two Supreme Court justices that we know believe in the sanctity of life is a big deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, other judicial nominees that are out there that have not been confirmed yet that feel the same way is a big deal.
And the big question is the divided Congress, with pro-lifers no longer in control of the House. What does that mean in pushing forward with President Trump's pro-life agenda? Mark Irons, the White House correspondent for EWTN News Nightly with Lauren Ashburn, asked the president that very question.
How are you going to push forward your pro-life agenda?
Just going to push. I've been pushing. I've done a very good job, too. We're very happy with me, but it's a tough issue for the two sides. There's no question about it.
But what are you going to do?
There is great debate. What am I going to do? I won't be able to explain that to you because it is an issue that is a very divisive, polarizing issue. But there is a solution. I think I have that solution, and nobody else does. We're going to be working on that.
How will the president push forward on his pro-life agenda?
I mean, I think he'll do exactly what he has been doing, making him the most pro-life president we have ever had. He'll push administratively. He'll do the most important thing, which is to continue to nominate judges that will do the right thing when it comes to this issue. I don't have any question that he's right, that he's the guy that knows what to do. He knows very well. I'm not concerned at all. The fact that there's a bottleneck in the House, or now that there's a plug in the House in terms of getting legislation done, yes, it's disappointing. There will be a contrast in this country. We'll see what the Nancy Pelosi contrast will look like as we move into the presidential election again. I'm not worried that the president will falter in any way.
No, and interesting enough, I think early in the 2016 campaign, there was some concerns how pro-life of a president would Donald Trump be. He has certainly put all those to rest, certainly with his nominees, certainly picking a Mike Pence as his running mate, you know, those type of things, and legislation that he's worked on. What I liked is the idea is that he didn't say, okay, we're going to have a more moderate, Democrat-controlled House, and we're going to run away from this issue. He said, I have a plan, and we're going to get it done, and I think that's good to hear.
John is absolutely right, and what he did from when he was, even in his primaries until now, was help lead that move of the pro-life movement from defense to offense, never relenting, always being courageous about pinning the label on the actual extremists every single time, and that has been a revolution for the pro-life movement.
And our eyes are watching to see if we can get those pro-life promises accomplished. And we've been talking a lot, even in this discussion, about judges in the Supreme Court. So what do these key gains in the Senate mean for the Supreme Court and potential nominees?
Well, certainly they mean if we get another chance at it, which would be the third under Donald Trump's presidency, it's going to be a little smoother, I believe, than the last one. We have more votes that are going to be supportive. And so I sure hope we do get that chance, because if you really want to change and have the sanctity of life preserved, freedom of religion preserved, the Supreme Court's ultimately going to be the final say in that, and having the right justices that understand that, I think, are important.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get another opportunity, at least one more, which means that the court will, the balance will tip even further in what we believe is a more reasonable pro-life direction. All those circuit courts, however, that bolster, that are the courts of first resort for all the legislation coming up, those are also a little bit hidden but vital, and arguably of equal impact, given that you can't get to the Supreme Court without going through a circuit court.
Also very notable for the pro-life movement, we saw Senators Donnelly, Heitkamp, and McCaskill all lose. Those three identify as Catholic, but have voted in favor of abortion on key votes. What do their losses say? What message does that send?
Well, first of all, I think part of it, and I was involved in the Indiana Senate race, and so I was watching the polling numbers. Believe me, the whole race changed after the Kavanaugh confirmation hearing. And I think that there were a lot of Americans who saw that this was not about issues or ideology. This was simply about politics. And I think they were turned off by that. And I think, you know, what happened to Joe Donnelly was not only did he vote the wrong way, but people did not like the process they saw coming out of the left in those hearings.
Yeah, I would add that each of those that you named, in addition to a few others, where our people visited 2.7 million homes communicating the pro-life message. And here's what the message was. Your sitting senator acts like he's pro-life. He's kind of pro-lifey, but he doesn't vote that way. And that is a message that is now heard that really wasn't heard in the politics of the pro-life movement of the past. And it is really providing a winning margin, emboldening pro-life elected officials to really go ahead and accept that mandate and go ahead and legislate and do the right thing and vote for the right judges right now.
Voters were watching their actions
right.
on this. Marjorie, there were also three very important pro-life initiatives on the state ballots. How did they do?
They won, thanks be to God. In West Virginia, an amendment passed to make sure that taxpayer funding didn't go towards Medicaid, abortions in Medicaid. And in Alabama, they changed the Constitution so that when they start passing pro-life protections, as we erode and hopefully one day overturn Roe, that those will be upheld. And so we're all set to go.
So wins in West Virginia and in Alabama.
Yes.
Finally, now that the midterm elections are over and we already have our eyes on 2020, what are the key lessons the pro-life movement should take away in moving forward?
Well, I think what's going to be interesting to watch is the primary for the Democrat nomination for president, because you are going to see progressive one-upmanship. Everybody in that is going to play to the left side of the party. They're going to try to move there, and they're going to try to out-liberal everybody else at the debates. And so you are going to see candidates that are unlike the fabric of this country. Yeah,
and John, I also think there's going to be a under the radar argument among them. They're going to try to keep it under the radar. How do we actually gain some of these states that are very red, very pro-life? Are we going to do what Nancy Pelosi said and allow people to be pro-life? Are we going to let people do that in the Democratic Party? It is a wedge right now that has basically been to the advantage of pro-life candidates and the Republican Party. Are they going to allow any of that? No, I'm going to guess no. They're going to want to seem like they are without actually doing it. But that's when we take advantage of that moment and really pin them down on exactly what they will do.
I cannot believe we're already talking about 2020, but that's the reality. John Brabender, Marjorie Dannenfelser, thank you both for being here this important week.
Thank you.